Our next speaker joined DI last year, but he already made a lasting impression on our students as their faculty and their mentor. BIM specialist with an architecture background and experience spanning across companies including Stantec, Universal Studios, and Amazon, Joe Bertucci has worked on projects within the cultural, residential, hospitality, mixed use, and theme entertainment sectors. He's a passionate designer and he's a very passionate educator. And so today, Joe would speak on behalf of the graduating class of the BFA program. So please, big round of applause to help me welcome Joe.
All right. How's everyone doing so far? Doing good? Can everyone hear me in the audience? How about my faculty? Can you hear me back here? All right. I'm going to try and enunciate as much as possible. All right. Graduates, undergraduates, faculty, parents, friends, and relatives. Good evening, everyone, and congratulations, class of 2022. Before I begin, I must acknowledge that behind me sits a prestigious and respected CEO, a highly admired director of academics, and a decorative panel of accomplished industry professionals, academic faculty, administrators, and board of directors. While I, a recent addition as a part-time instructor for DI, have somehow been chosen to stand here and bestow wisdom upon all of you. In the Oregon Pavilion's history, many figures have given speeches. 2 United States presidents have notably stood on this very stage. Theodore Roosevelt gave a speech in front of nearly 19,000 people to touch on topics such as world peace, while William Howard Taft spoke to nearly 7,000 people to commend the city on its use of architecture. For commencement speeches, colleges normally ask alumni, politicians, public speakers, or notable figures in pop culture to address the students. Here at DI, we give that choice to our students, and you decided to select me. I don't think you understood what you just signed up for. Being asked to be the commencement speaker is very much an honor and a privilege. When I got the call, I decided to prepare my speech with the same focus and drive my students would devote to their final projects. So in honor of my students, I waited until the last minute and started writing it last night. Since my class would come at the end of the week, I used to joke with my students that I would be the last words they would hear before the semester ended. I now realize that I'll be the last words you will hear before you walk this stage. The last words you will hear as part of your education journey, the last words to inspire you before making your next steps forward in life. I know you're all anxious, and to respect that, I plan to take as long as possible to deliver this speech. We have come here today, not just to witness these students take to the stage and take these next steps in their lives, but to show our own love and support for them. Students, you have worked tirelessly for this moment your entire lives. You have gone through the gauntlet of projects, taken on studio critiques, and put in an excessive number of hours and all-nighters to make it all happen. For you to earn the diploma that you will ultimately be receiving in the mail in the next several weeks. If you haven't noticed, I am channeling my inner Conan O'Brien, except I am more Italian, and he is much more handsome and charming. I joined DI in August of 2021 because I teach an online remote class, and I am so new to the faculty that even some of my colleagues behind me are asking, who is this guy? This is a great opportunity for me to introduce myself. My name is Joseph Bertucci. I go by most as Joe. However, I have had a long list of nicknames in my career. Just so you know, nicknames are given to you. You don't just make one yourself. Trust me, I have tried. I asked to be called Batman once, only for which I was told you don't even fit the criteria of the boy wonder. To my colleagues, I am known as Bim Tucci. I'm keeping this one because before that, I was known as a union worker, Lunchbox, Fiat, SAS, and in my early days, most notably, Hey Kid, Move. I am a BIM specialist with an architecture background. But what is BIM? I get this question a lot. It usually goes in tandem with, what is it you do here? Well, in the past, hand-drafted drawings were used to express the information of the building plan. Next came CAD, otherwise known as computer-aided design, which helped drafters see 2D plans in the digital environment. And now we have BIM. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling. BIM is the holistic approach, a process of creating and managing information within a 3D model. But it is much more than a 3D model. We actually dive into other dimensions of 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, and beyond. This is where we incorporate information such as schedule, cost estimating, sustainability, and facility management within our models. You may also find me jumping through dimensions with Dr. Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Although they have somehow to cut out all my scenes from the movie. Thanks, Marvel. I was even there at the theater to promote the power of BIM. I could have been the next Avenger. Instead, Kevin Feige thought I was probably just wearing a wig and cosplaying the Winter Soldier. BIM is a process. It isn't just a single tool or technology, as it involves many. But one of those tools is called Revit, which is a 3D parametric modeling and documentation software that I was able to teach some of my students here today. Shout out to my fall, spring, and summer BIM classes that are in the audience today. Though some of you might think I am an industry professional, you should know that I once sat where you sit. Literally, 2 weeks ago, I came to teach my last class of the spring semester in person and decided to come to this very pavilion and sit in every one of your seats. I did it to film scenes for my movie, but because the sun angle kept changing, I couldn't be certain which shot I would want, so I sat in every seat. I did it to prove a point, just not a very good one. That I might be bright, but the light bulb up there is on a dimmer switch that is never really fully lit. And that I obviously have more free time than I want to admit. Yes, you heard that correctly. I turned this into a movie. This might be the most hyped up speech you'll ever bear witness to. I made a trailer, a poster, and even a website to promote this event. Don't believe me? Pointofintersection.com. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Usually you hire someone to be your hype man. I just spend my evenings referring to myself in the third person. Even my wife said to me recently that it was time I had my own office space. She called it a place for me to think, but let's be honest, she needed me to be walked away in an asylum. I am joined here today by my wife. She is among the many that have supported me throughout my life's endeavors. Please give her a round of applause, for she is the true hero for putting up with me on a daily basis. If you don't know what I'm referring to, let me give you the highlights. 8 years ago, I graduated from college, made a movie, and frightened my family and friends for what they are to be proud of. 3 years ago, I got married, made a movie, and frightened my wife for what she decided to say yes to. So to keep a tradition, last year I started teaching, I am now making a movie, and I will frighten my students for all the years to come. It is official, I'm going to keep making these movies for the rest of my life. The Bertucci cinematic universe has begun. Every one of these events in my life I treat like a journey that I like to bring the audience on. Like an orchestra, playing a symphony, building to its crescendo, and pulling on every heartstring along the way. I don't aim to disappoint, but at least by the end of this, I know you will all be entertained. A little history about myself. I was born and raised in the south suburbs of Chicago. I grew up around art and illustration. My two brothers and I took art classes from John Tilk, an acclaimed artist in the Chicagoland area. He taught us how to draw and refine our skills to have successful art careers. None of that will be possible without the love, support, and sacrifices my parents made in order to lead us on that path. The most notable quality of my parents would be to hold patience with their children. Because the reality is, unlike my brothers, I changed my career path a dozen times because I couldn't decide exactly what I wanted to do. I took art classes, piano lessons, wanted to be an author, a gymnast, a product designer, a carpenter, a furniture maker, a filmmaker, and the list goes on. The one thing my mother will say that she is grateful for to this day is that she did not go through and buy that baby grand piano. Although that would have been a nice addition to today's ceremony, instead we have the world's largest pipe organ in a fully outdoor venue. But the reality is, despite cycling through all these career choices, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without going through those and becoming a more rounded person. I do love art, but I also love technology and building things. Naturally, I figured out that I wanted to pursue a career in architecture. You see, growing up, I was just this weird kid who was very theatrical behind the scenes, almost questionable at times. I was the odd kid on the wrestling team that was so out of place, it was like playing a game of Where's Waldo when looking at the team photo, except in my case, I was clearly not trying to hide, and you very much can easily pick me out like I was in a police lineup. I used to think I was so cool and fashion forward that I would show up to school dressed in flaming button-up polos. My wife will be the first to speak on behalf of my fashion sense when she has to remind me to stop looking like Guy Fieri and call your brother to ask him how to dress business casual. You are all so lucky that we are not doing this ceremony indoors. I would have had a presentation prepared, but instead of bestowing wisdom, you would be probably asking me when the next season of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives is going to come out. The point I am trying to make was the first lesson I had with my students. I reminded them that in life you can't take yourself too seriously. Being weird or different is okay. You shouldn't hide who you are. You should just be yourself and let everyone else know it. In order to do what you love, you have to love what you are doing. And most importantly, if you are not having fun doing it, then there is nothing to be excited about. When you're having fun, you start to develop a personality. I have recently become self-aware of my Joeisms. So much so, I created a bingo board for my students to keep track of during class. These squares consisted of common mannerisms, references, and quotes. The most notable of the bunch is probably my most used quotes I say. No other 6 words have I repeated more often than good talk, see you out there. A shortened version of an old school movie quote. But I associate this most with my boss and mentor, Alonso Rodriguez. He would say it to me as a response for when I wasn't paying attention. I've become so accustomed to using it to close my conversations, you could tell Alonso said it to me quite often and still to this day. Though I do use the quote in a similar joking sense, I have associated it with a much broader meaning. And trust me when I say this, Alonso has definitely not taken the time to read into this as much as I have. Even he is probably saying to himself at this very moment, no, I have not. Now please stop writing fortune cookies and get back to work. But what I see it as is that there's a whole world out there that we are a part of. Our time together is short. We understand we are each traveling on this journey through life. But before we depart ways, we acknowledge our time spent together and hope to see you together again one day. Here at DI, your education is personal and your future is important to us. Because just like you, we are devoted to design. Our goal is to ensure that by the time you graduate, you are prepared with a rewarding, innovative, and socially responsible career in interior design. But what is interior design? Interior design has been described as the skilled art of creating functional, inspiring, and structurally sound spaces for businesses, individuals, and the public to experience. Here at Design Institute, we support those that have an artistic calling to create and design the spaces we experience every day, with an education that will help realize your dreams. The Bachelor of Fine Arts and Interior Design degree is organized to develop the creative, analytical, technical, and communication skills appropriate to the interior design practice. Students, you are able to progress to increasingly more complex learning experiences that help you identify and solve problems that exist between people, the natural environment, and the design space. You began your journey here at DI by learning basic design theory, color, and drawing skills. You then developed strong communication and research skills, space planning, and problem-solving abilities. Retained historical knowledge, social awareness, and sensitivity to human environmental needs. Utilized computer and design technologies, understood business practices, and finally, externship and portfolio preparation for employment. This story has many layers to it, and within those resides character development. I only wish I could contribute to this. Let's be honest, the most character development I have to add is the growth of my hair over the last 2 years. Seriously, I look like a discounted version of Keanu Reeves playing the average Joe working from home. Pun intended. The real character development in this story resides within each of you. Your efforts have been vigorous, demanding, and at times challenging. But you were able to adapt not only to the hardships of school, but also to the efforts of having to do most of it remotely. Which brings us all here today, as we are rewarded to be here in person with you celebrating your success. College is just the beginning. The education of the interior designer is a lifelong process. If the purpose and value of your education have been truly absorbed, you will know that you will make a difference in people's lives. This graduating class are more than just students. They are the embodiment of determination, hard work, and success. They are the real heroes of today and will pave the path forward for the next generation to come. This leads us now to what lies ahead for you. I have titled this speech, Point of Intersection. But what does that actually mean? The point of intersection is familiar in our lives as designers. The intersection of the X and Y axis in 2D space is what we call the origin, a blank canvas to the start of our projects. Students, your educational journey might be coming to an end, but at every ending lies a new beginning. The word commencement is defined in the dictionary as the beginning of something. Students, you are here today to begin a new journey, a journey into the unknown, a path that leads to your future. But this path is not as clear as you may expect. In life, the point of intersection represents the moment in our lives where we reach a crossroad and our paths diverge. These moments invoke change as a decision rests before us to determine our paths moving forward. These are never easy, but the reality is life is never easy. You will always find yourself at these crossroads, and you will always have a choice. You can either play it safe or take a chance. If you're looking for an easy way out, I'm sorry to say, but the right paths are not the easiest to make. As Cassandra Clare once said, in the end, the choice you made, it doesn't matter how hard it was to make it, it matters that you did. You are in control of your journey, and you may decide your path might change course as you move forward, because your choices and goals realign to what you believe in. What you aspire today may be different tomorrow. What is important to remember is to never give up on your journey, no matter how difficult it may seem or what someone else might believe it should be. Your journey is yours alone to map out. To this day, one of my most valuable possessions was something my high school CAD teacher gave me, Dylan Burgett. Oh, you thought this was something that I was just waving around. I'm just one swing away from calling this my magic wand, changing my name to Snape, and rebranding my class as the Defensive Against the Dark Arts. On my last day of his class, he pulled me aside to give me a set of his Videography pens. In case none of you know, Videography pens are standard tools in hand drafting for precise line work. I didn't understand at first why he would impart such a personal gift, especially since he taught me CAD and not hand drafting. But he told me it's called computer-aided design. To understand how we got to where we are at, you have to know where you have come from before. You realize that in CAD, it might be easy for you to draw lines, delete, or undo what you've done when you've made a mistake. When you go through those steps, you realize the value of the tools you have been given. It was in this moment that I learned not everything is going to be handed to you in life. You should be grateful for what you have been provided, as it was not always easy for others that came before you. And to realize that sometimes you have to work really hard in order to get to where you want to be. You will make mistakes, and life doesn't come with an undo button. At this moment, you're starting to feel excited, curious, uncertain, stressed, nervous, or even scared. I want you to know that is okay. You are not expected to have all the answers or to know which path you should take. Like I said before, you are expected to make mistakes. But once when you realize you can learn from your own mistakes, you will be willing to make them more often. As you continue to find yourself at these points of intersection, you begin to realize that these points start to add up. Like in geometry, our points turn to vertices, and our lives begin to take shape. Like Victoria Osteen said, the choices we make today shape the people we become tomorrow. My classes are structured in a very particular way. Every week I teach a 4-hour class. But I start off the first 10 to 15 minutes to check in with each of my students. It's not long, not required, but those moments are an opportunity to ensure my students that their voices are heard. I also use this as an icebreaker to tell all my terrible jokes and force my students to listen to them, to which they have to laugh at. I then have a safety moment to illustrate questionable decisions I have made in life and tell my students not to repeat them. As my grandmother used to say to my mother, who would then say it to me, that I now say to my students, do as I say, not as I do. We would get into our lecture and presentation for the remainder of the class, but by the end, I have a reoccurring segment called Final Thoughts. Aside from my energetic personality, something tells me this is why I might be standing here today. So where did the Final Thoughts segment come from? Well, the obvious inspiration, one might say, is it came from watching episodes of Jerry Springer. While there might be some symbolic reasoning behind that, maybe the showmanship side, the real reason the segment exists is that it came from me asking a question every time I would arrive at a point of intersection in my life. When I would finish a class, graduate, or move on to a new job, I would take a moment to approach my teachers, colleagues, or bosses to ask them before I departed on my next journey if they had any final thoughts. It was a gesture to seek advice because the reality is I don't have all the answers. I continue to seek knowledge to this day. What I have learned is that despite receiving a degree, chasing knowledge will never end. And for my students, at the end of a long week, sometimes what you are looking for is just reassurance in what you are doing, motivation when you are feeling confident, or hope for what is to come. A teacher inspires their students. Every week, my students have attended my class. Today, you have all been here to attend this one. Each class I presented a final thought, and every week I build anticipation for the next. But I told my students I would save the best for last. So here we are, the moment we have finally been waiting for. For one last time, I present to you the final thought. At this moment, we are entering the time of day that is often referred to by cinematographers and photographers as the golden hour, sometimes also called the magic hour. It is the last hour before sunset, where the lighting happens to be the best. Some might be as bold to say perfect. I find it fitting that as we approach the end of our evening, we use it to highlight the most important lesson of them all: follow your dreams. This might be cliche, but dreams are important. As designers, we start at the end and work our way backwards. We see the vision we want to create. Your dreams are what you imagine your life to be. They act as your compass as you navigate through life and become your destinations at the end of your journey. But it's not about dreaming small. It's about dreaming big. It's about pushing to be the best version of yourself. You shouldn't have to settle for less. You should be willing to challenge yourself, to take a risk, do what scares you. Move between jobs, expand your network, meet new people, travel to new places, or develop a new skill. To everyone here today, not just our students, but to family, friends, and faculty, it doesn't matter what your age or where you are in life. I want you to all know that it is never too late to chase your dreams. There is a whole world out there waiting for you. Dream for today, dream for tomorrow, dream the impossible. Because until you do, you have no idea what you are capable of. It doesn't matter what you dream, but what matters is that you believe in yourself to achieve it. By the end of it, you might even surprise yourself how much you can accomplish. Even if for some reason you fall short, because you dreamed as big as you can imagine, your result is still that of greatness. As Les Brown said, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will land among the stars. For me, it comes full circle as I leave today with where I started. I've had several graduations in my past, But 17 years ago is one that stands out, because before I took the stage as a student, I wrote something to be presented for my graduating class. Some here today have heard this already before, but it is a poem that I wrote inspired by Adidas' slogan that I bestow upon you to carry with you and to remind you about the importance of dreams. The dream is the heart of what I hold dear. The goal is the result. The work is what's clear. Never a thought, a question, or a doubt. Always pursuing, striving, and wanting to shout. Achieving is always. Defeat is never. Strategizing, persevering, always being clever. Challenges are many, only a path can I choose. Impossible is nothing. If I stop, I lose. Class of 2022, you are now moments away from walking this stage. Your story is ready for its next chapter, and your lives are about to change forever. But before you take those first steps, I ask you to stop to remember your lives. A time to pause, look back at all the memories that brought you here today, and a time to look ahead at all the moments that are still to come. We are all here for you today as faculty, friends, and family, because we want those moments for you. We are here to hope with you, to support you, to be proud of you, and to remind you that life isn't about receiving a degree. Life is the experience of writing your own story. It's not one moment, not even this moment. It is every moment. From the big ones to the small ones, from the easy ones to the hard ones. These moments fuse together into one big experience. One story. Your story. You are my students. And I want you to know that I am not above you. But as you walk this stage, I don't stand above you. I stand beside you. The path for knowledge continues. The point of intersection lies before you. As C.S. Lewis once said, you can't go back and change your story's beginning, but you can start today and change your ending. So make it a good one. Our time is almost up, so let us count down our last remaining seconds together. Learn, love, believe, try, dream. It has been an honor and a privilege. I wish you all the best on your journeys. Good talk. See you out there. Thank you very much and congratulations.